I have a huge opinion about Vini. It doesn't matter what's relegated or Burnley. What I felt when I play against him, and I know him a little bit, I have a high standard opinion about his work as a person, personality and knowledge about the game, and handle the media and many things. And I would love Bayern to take the best decision. They deserve it. I love that club. After seeing his teams, I'm more than convinced these 2 days. I'm more than convinced that he's going to come back. But the fact when I make weeks ago, I said my feelings, I don't know. But it's going to happen.
Yes, Pep Guardiola was right. Vincent Kompany is the real deal. And now, the entire football world is witnessing it. Bayern Munich, under the Belgian coach, are not just winning, they're rewriting history. 15 consecutive victories, a run so dominant it shattered the legendary record once held by Arrigo Sacchi's AC Milan, a side led by giants like Van Basten and Gullit. 37 goals scored, only 7 conceded, and the only undefeated team left in Europe's top 5 leagues. The run may have been paused by a late draw against Union Berlin, but make no mistake, Bayern are unstoppable. Kompany has silenced every single critic who doubted he was the right man for one of the most powerful clubs in world football.
I'm born in Brussels, yeah? Northern quarter in Brussels. My dad was a refugee, came from Congo to Belgium. What were my chances of ever setting a foot even in the Premier League, playing in the Premier League, winning something as a player, playing for the national team and so on? If you take the odds and the chances that it was for me to happen, 0.00 what percent, you know? And now I'm a coach. The question is, do you just stop believing? Do you stop believing in yourself because of what other people say? Do you stop believing in what you can achieve because, you know what, there's a very small chance? The mentality is to continue to go, and in the end, if you fail, you fail. If you succeed, you succeed, but you become better every single time. That's so important. And the question is irrelevant in terms of the direction of the fact that because online you can always find stuff, so I really don't take it any personal, never.
When he arrived, the headlines mocked him too inexperienced, a failed Burnley coach, not ready for Bayern. After all, his only top-flight experience was a relegation with Burnley.
Joey, test me! Do the test me! I'm enough moaning! Enough moaning! Play football, what is tomorrow about everything? Play! How many times do I have to tell you? Stop moaning! Why, you got something you want to communicate to the team? You want to communicate something? You're a big boy? No, you're a big boy, you want to take it?
I just said, can we finish that task?
No, you're moaning about everything!
What have I moaned about today?
Body language! I'm not accepting it! Play! Man!
But football has a funny way of exposing how little people actually understand genius. Because Kompany isn't just a former player turned manager, he's a tactical visionary, a man forged by some of the greatest minds of the modern era. Roberto Mancini, Manuel Pellegrini, and of course Pep Guardiola, the man who shaped him into a leader at Manchester City. 10 trophies as a player. Four Premier League titles.
Kompany had a look, had a hit!
And countless battles that define the most dominant English side of its generation. Kompany didn't just play under Guardiola, he absorbed him. But here's the key, Kompany hasn't copied Pep, he's evolved him. What we're seeing now at Bayern is not just Guardiola's influence, it's the future of coaching. A tactical system built from Kompany's own intelligence, discipline and childhood obsession with understanding every inch of the game.
A lot of respect for someone that was very influential in my career, of course. But the main thing I said is when I speak about what my football ideas are, you know, I match my ideas with my personality. When I speak about being aggressive, it's because that's how I was since I was a kid. From the age of 6, you know, whenever I could remember competing in a team. when I talk about being brave and creative and everything, it's because I grew up in Brussels on the streets, and for us everything was.
He's built a team that feels unstoppable, a modern war machine. With Harry Kane firing on all cylinders, Luis Diaz and Serge Gnabry tearing down the wings, Michael Olise dazzling defenders, and a midfield run by Kimmich, Lima and Pavlovic, Bayern look both ruthless and elegant. In defence, Jonathan Tah, Upamecano and Stanisic stand like walls, while Neuer commands the back as if time never touched him. And the scary part, players like Alphonso Davies and Jamal Musiala haven't even returned yet. What Kompany is building isn't just a strong Bayern, it's an evolution of football itself. His risky, aggressive and fluid tactics are redefining what it means to control a match. Guardiola may have laid the foundation, but Vincent Kompany is taking it somewhere entirely new. This is not Bayern's return, this is Bayern's rebirth, and it's terrifying. Before we can understand how Vincent Kompany is revolutionising Bayern Munich, we need to understand who he really is. Born on the 10th of April 1986 in Uccle, on the outskirts of Brussels, Kompany grew up far from the glamour of the world he now dominates.
De flottement, de battement. Westerlo ne doit pas pouvoir en profiter. Impérial. Kompany, qu'est-ce que...
He came through the youth system of RSC Anderlecht, the most prestigious club in Belgium, where he would later make his professional debut in 2002 at just 17 years old.
Notamment à Kompany de reprendre un plus attention dans...
Tall, commanding, and impossibly intelligent on the pitch, the 1.90-metre defender quickly became one of Europe's most promising prospects. By 2004, he had already been named Belgium's Footballer of the Year, winning 2 domestic titles with Anderlecht before moving to Hamburg SV in 2006. Ironically, his final game for Hamburg came at the Allianz Arena, home of the very club he leads today, Bayern Munich. Fluent in German, French and English, Kompany was already building bridges long before becoming a coach, but it was in Manchester where Kompany would write his legend. Signed by Manchester City in 2008, he spent 11 seasons defining the modern era of English football.
Forshaw chasing this. Kompany across.
4 Premier League titles, 2 FA Cups, 4 League Cups, and 2 Community Shields, all while serving as captain, leader, and the emotional compass of the club.
Tienes el balón, vuelves a nuestra defensa, sientes que puedes tener una oportunidad. Y eso es lo que quiero, si quiero ver a este equipo pasar al siguiente nivel y hacer incluso más. En cada detalle tenemos que ser honestos con nosotros mismos y tenemos que ser más duros con nosotros mismos.
Porque es un derby, es el United, está en casa y era nuestra oportunidad de ser campeones, tanto para nuestro mundial. Pero ahí es cuando quiero ver al equipo.
His leadership was not just vocal, it was intellectual. On the pitch, he was the manager's voice, whether under Roberto Mancini, Manuel Pellegrini, or Pep Guardiola. And it was Pep more than anyone else who ignited the spark that would lead Kompany toward management. He changed how I saw football, Kompany would later admit. He made me want to become a coach. When he finally hung up his boots in 2019, Kompany returned home, both literally and spiritually, to Anderlecht. This time as a player manager. That experiment evolved into his full-time role as head coach by 2020.
Y lo siento, pero también quiero estabilidad y estructura y chicos en los que se pueda confiar sin importar la situación. Ya sabes, el punto más alto y el punto más bajo no pueden ser tan grandes. No para nuestros jugadores principales, los jugadores experimentados.
Under his leadership, Anderlecht regained identity and structure, finishing 3rd in consecutive seasons in Belgium's top flight. His next step was far bolder. In 2022, Kompany crossed back to England to take over Burnley FC, a club relegated from the Premier League.
Looking for a second. It is the second.
What followed was extraordinary. In his first season, Burnley didn't just return to the Premier League, they dominated the Championship, winning the title with 101 points and playing some of the most progressive football in the division.
Burnley are back in the Premier League.
But the fairy tale hit a wall in the Premier League as Burnley's youthful squad was relegated again the following year. Kompany, the youngest manager in the 2023/24 season, left with his reputation, divided praise for his footballing vision, but doubted for his readiness to lead a super club. So when Bayern Munich announced his appointment, the football world gasped. Could a coach who had just been relegated manage one of Europe's most powerful institutions? Less than a year later, Vincent Kompany answered that question not with words but with results. A Bundesliga title, an unbeaten run, and a footballing identity so bold that even his mentor Pep Guardiola would nod in approval. And this is where the story gets fascinating, because what Kompany is doing at Bayern Munich isn't just impressive, it's revolutionary. It's clear now Bayern's board saw something special in Vincent Kompany long before the rest of the world did. They believed he could not only revive the club, but redefine it. After Bayer Leverkusen's historic double in 23-24, Bayern needed more than just a manager, they needed a visionary. He was on our list from the start, said sporting director Max Ebel at Kompany's unveiling. We knew he had enormous potential as a coach, and in hindsight, that gamble turned into a masterstroke. Replacing Thomas Tuchel was never going to be easy, but Kompany didn't flinch. He took over one of the most demanding benches in world football and immediately restored Bayern's identity. Dominant, structured, and ruthless. His era began with a statement. A 4-0 demolition of Ulm in the DFB Pokal.
Who's onside? Gnabry, Müller!
Followed by 4 straight Bundesliga wins, scoring 16 goals.
And that's a fine run by Sacha Boey, and tucked home by Musa.
And a jaw-dropping 9-2 Champions League debut against Dinamo Zagreb.
Intensity on the front foot, the way we was playing through the lines.
The message was clear. Bayern were back, and this time they were terrifyingly efficient. Those early weeks did more than build results. They built belief the players bought into his ideas, and the fans, sceptical at first, began to see the vision. Kompany understood Bayern's DNA attack, entertain, and dominate. His innovation, the now famous 2-4-4 structure in possession, a bold tactical shape that stretches opponents and suffocates them with control. Wingers like Michael Olise and Leroy Sané are given full creative freedom, shots on target, or goals scored. They attack with numbers, precision, and elegance, a perfect reflection of Kompany's footballing mind. But he's not just an attacking romantic. Kompany, the former world-class centre-back, knew that a great Bayern side must also defend like champions. He stabilised the backline, restoring confidence with a consistent pairing of Min-jae Kim and Dayot Upamecano. He brought clarity, said Bayern legend Philipp Lahm. That consistency gives defenders confidence. And his in-game management has been just as sharp. In the 1-1 draw against Borussia Dortmund, Kompany's half-time talk transformed the match.
Tries again here, it's come to Olise to cross, and the header to level again!
He was calm and analytical, Captain Manuel Neuer revealed. His words changed everything in the second half. Under Kompany, Bayern now play with unity and hierarchy, a team that believes in its structure, its style, and its manager. Of course, perfection doesn't come without scars. Bayern's season wasn't flawless. They fell to Leverkusen in the DFB Pokal round of 16.
Allowed to progress and wrap that left foot around it there.
And exited the Champions League in the quarter-finals to Inter Milan. But context matters. Neuer's early red card in the cup, plus injuries to Upamecano, Musiala and others, hit them hard. With a bit more luck, those margins could easily tilt in Bayern's favour next season. Still, the mission was accomplished. Bundesliga glory returned to Munich. Kompany's Bayern dominated domestically, taking advantage of Leverkusen's dropped points and executing perfectly in key clashes. Both head-to-head matches ended in draws, but Bayern's consistency made the difference. The February showdown at the Bay Arena summed up everything Kompany stands for. Leverkusen had the ball, but Bayern had control, tactical discipline, defensive composure, and mental strength. By the end of his debut season, Kompany had erased all doubts. Just 2 league defeats, 93 goals scored, 25 more than any rival, and the league's best defence led by...
Sage nochmal, also ich verteidige. I'm defending now against the winger. The moment come to my line, I have to be sure that I'm on the line of the defender, or he has to, so that he is offside, or I have to adapt. Play to him. I go and I can be aggressive. So manage that distance so you can always be aggressive, boys.
Devastating Harry Kane. 41 goals and 14 assists. Bayern were not just champions, they were a statement of tactical evolution. From Kane to Neuer, everyone defended, everyone pressed, everyone played for each other. Kompany didn't just change Bayern's football, he changed its culture. But what we saw last season was only the beginning, because this season, Bayern Munich haven't just refined their game, they've reached levels nobody thought were possible. Now we need to talk about how Vincent Kompany's tactical genius has elevated Bayern Munich to a completely different level. One of the most fascinating aspects of his system lies in the unique roles of the fullbacks and the front two. They are, quite literally, Bayern's tactical Swiss army knives. Kompany has given them total freedom, and that freedom has turned chaos into order. The fullbacks are no longer just defenders or wide runners. They can appear anywhere on their side of the pitch, creating overloads, pinning down markers, and even making diagonal runs behind the back line. In the build-up phase, Bayern's fullbacks position themselves higher and inverted, stepping into midfield to push opponents back. This movement stretches the field and gives Bayern's centre-backs vast open lanes to carry the ball forward, a subtle but powerful way to break through pressure. Then, as play progresses into the final third, those same fullbacks shift into attacking mode, driving into half spaces or even into the box to link up with wingers and midfielders. But here's where Kompany's system becomes truly fluid. The front two, usually Harry Kane and Serge Gnabry, have the same freedom. They can drift anywhere, drop deep alongside the double pivot, move into the wings, or trade places entirely. It's a nightmare for defenders because at any moment Bayern can morph into a 2-4-4, a 3-2-5, or even a 2-3-5 shape depending on the phase of play. To make all of this work, Kompany allows temporary positional swaps, fullbacks stepping into striker zones, forwards dropping into midfield, creating endless triangles and numerical advantages. It's tactical jazz, structured improvisation that overwhelms opponents through sheer fluidity, and when you combine that freedom with Bayern's personnel, the result is suffocating. Players like Luis Diaz, Olise, Kane and Sané can attack from every angle, while Stanisic and Davies invade spaces that opponents never expect. A perfect example came in the goal against Union Berlin, a moment that encapsulated the whole system. Watch how 8 of Bayern's 11 players were already inside or near the box, pressing Union to collapse. Josip Stanisic drifted into the area to combine with Luis Diaz, playing a 1-2 that seemed slightly overhit. But Diaz didn't give up. He chased the ball down, stayed on the line, and from an impossible angle, unleashed a thunderbolt straight into the top corner. That goal wasn't just brilliance from Diaz, it was a perfect reflection of Kompany's Bayern. Organised chaos, relentless pressure, and total belief in attacking as one unit. Every player becomes a weapon, every position becomes a threat, and for the opposition, there's nowhere left to breathe. When Bayern push into the final third, Kompany's system shifts into something that looks almost excessive, a 2-4-4, sometimes even a 2-2-6 shape. At first glance it seems reckless, but there's method in the madness. The idea is simple: pin the opposition inside their own half and never let them breathe. With this structure, Bayern flood the final third with players, creating constant overloads, tight passing networks, and an immediate counter-press, ready to activate the moment possession is lost. Every player is within sprinting distance of the ball, so recovery is instantaneous. The higher Bayern advance, the wider they stretch, the fullbacks hug the lines, the forwards drop and interchange, and the midfielders slide into the half spaces to keep the opponent chasing shadows. The pitch becomes smaller for the rival and enormous for Bayern. In possession, Kompany's men dictate rhythm from the back. They begin with short, sharp passes, adjusting tempo depending on pressure, and once they identify a gap, they inject pace, going directly for the jugular. By the time they reach the final third, the goal is patience and precision. In transition, Bayern become a storm. The moment they lose the ball, they react in unison, 6 or 7 players collapsing around the carrier, suffocating him. The goal isn't just to win the ball back, it's to never allow the opponent to counter. If they regain possession, the decision is instant: either go vertical within seconds or recycle calmly, depending on the state of play. Even Manuel Neuer, at 39, is part of the plan, restarting attacks immediately from goal kicks with short passes to the centre-backs, refusing to give opponents time to reset. Out of possession, Bayern are merciless. Their press is man-to-man, their defensive line sits absurdly high, and every player marks space as much as they mark men. It's suffocating football, the kind that leaves rivals praying for a clearance. And the perfect example of this came in the second goal against PSG. The sequence began not with possession, but with loss. Marquinhos had just regained the ball near his box, and before he could even lift his head, Luis Diaz pounced. From the edge of the penalty arc, Diaz pressed like a predator, dispossessing him cleanly and finding himself one-on-one with the keeper. A second later, the ball was in the net. Bayern 2, PSG 0, and the European champions were being crushed by Kompany's relentless press. That's the beauty of this Bayern. Every loss of the ball is just the beginning of the next attack. Under Kompany, possession isn't just control, it's a weapon. In Kompany's Bayern, every role has a purpose, and every player functions like a piece of a living organism, constantly shifting, adapting, and feeding into the next phase of play. At the centre of it all stands Manuel Neuer, the eternal sweeper-keeper who, even at nearly 40, continues to redefine his position. In possession, Neuer steps high, sometimes past the edge of his box, to form a back three alongside his centre-backs, giving Bayern total control in the first phase of build-up. Out of possession, he's just as active, anticipating through balls, claiming crosses, and essentially acting as an 11th outfielder. Kompany doesn't overload him with instructions. Neuer already is the instruction. Then come the fullbacks, Bayern's most unpredictable weapons. Both Laimer and Stanisic have full licence to roam, but with distinct responsibilities. On the left, Stanisic tends to drift centrally, helping compress play and connect with midfielders.
Instead, it fell to Josip Stanisic to make it 1.
On the right, Laimer alternates depending on Michael Elise's position. If Elise holds the width, Laimer tucks inside. If Elise drifts centrally, Laimer explodes down the flank. This constant rotation keeps defenders guessing. When either receives the ball, they don't hesitate, they carry it forward, slice through lines, or play a smart cutback. Behind them, Jonathan Tah and Dayo Upamecano balance composure with verticality. Tah is the anchor, less aggressive with his runs, but brilliant with progressive passes, while Upamecano steps forward, breaking lines with power and precision. Together, they maintain Bayern's rest defence, while feeding transitions at lightning pace. In midfield, Joshua Kimmich is the metronome, the embodiment of a deep-lying playmaker. He floats between the centre-backs, dictating rhythm, launching attacks and marking tightly when the ball is lost. Beside him, Leon Goretzka and Pavlovic add structure, holding his position, dropping deeper when needed to form a 3-1 shape and locking down the midfield defensively. This partnership is the spine of Kompany's control system. Further forward, Serge Gnabry and Harry Kane function as Bayern's advanced playmaking duo. They drop deep, combine and pull defenders out of position, but the moment Bayern lose the ball, they transform into the first line of pressure, relentlessly harrying opposition centre-backs. And then, of course, there are the wingers, the heartbeat of Kompany's revolution. They provide width, stretch defences, and open up corridors for Bayern's fullbacks to attack. None more devastating than Luis Diaz, arguably the best signing in Europe this season. With 11 goals and 5 assists, he's become the league's most explosive winger, direct, technical, and fearless. Together with Harry Kane, Diaz forms the most terrifying attacking partnership in Europe, a blend of chaos and clinical precision. Kane's role encapsulates Kompany's philosophy of total football, a complete forward in every sense. He drops deep to orchestrate play, drifts wide to link up, and crashes the box with ruthless timing. His numbers are absurd, 23 goals and 3 assists, making him one of the most lethal strikers on the planet alongside Haaland and Mbappe.
Queuing up in the middle, and there is...
Yet what truly defines him this season is how he contributes without the ball, pressing, tracking back, and defending with the same intensity he attacks. Put all this together, Neuer's command, Laimer and Stanisic's movement, Kimmich's brain, Goretzka's balance, Diaz's explosiveness, and Kane's completeness, and you have the most balanced team in Europe. With 35 goals scored and one of the continent's tightest defences, Bayern Munich under Vincent Kompany have become a tactical masterpiece. They're not just back, they're terrifying again, and in the end, Pep Guardiola was right. Kompany isn't just another coach, he's the future of football.